Welcome to Authentic Space with Kasha and Chloe, who live their lives unapologetically. Ah, TGIF.
Oh, it is Friday. That's right. I don't even know which day of the week it is.
It definitely is Friday. I am happy for it, even if I'm going to have to work anyway. But
Yeah, I feel like weekends have been so busy for me lately. It's almost like, oh, is it Monday? And you just said it's Friday. So,
I feel like it's something that comes with age as well, though. Like, it feels like, for at least as a freelance entrepreneur, whatever person, I kind of like the days of the week, like I want to call them like the corporate days, don't actually count as much. Uh,
yeah, that's
you
true.
know, so sometimes I have like, I mean, usually what I do is I keep my Fridays off, as you know, like, and I just kind of like to have the 3 day weekend, but then, or I kind of keep the Fridays as like my creative days where I just do stuff that is not related to actual work to a certain extent. So that's kind of nice. Um,
Well, but again, I think, being an entrepreneur, it never ends. You never have that 5 o'clock, I get to go home now, type of thing.
yeah,
So sometimes you might have easier days, maybe even weeks, but sometimes it's just like a madhouse. And for you, it doesn't matter if it's like, oh, it's not a Wednesday or a Sunday, because they're both identical days, in terms of how busy you are.
God, or like for me, it's like sometimes it's like actually we had a lot of work in like February, March, April, May, June, which means that like I did not have a day off for like, I don't know, 55 days or something. I worked 55 days in a row.
Wow.
um, which is the risk that you take when you work and you do something that you love so much that it doesn't feel like work. So yeah, if there is like a negative aspect of working the job, of working your talent or making money out of your talent, I feel that's what it is, like the price sometimes.
I do feel though that a lot of entrepreneurs, they need to, like, I would want to know if it's actually a downfall of being an entrepreneur, or is it something that, as an entrepreneur, we kind of need to learn how to balance things, and how to, find boundaries, and all of that, like, even kind of, self love is huge for entrepreneurs, and a lot of entrepreneurs just don't know when to say no, and even though, again, it's your baby and stuff, but at some point, like, yourself, and that if I'm going to push an extra hour, I'm just going to break.
Yeah,
And so, us knowing kind of where that limit is, and yes, you can, you pretty much do what you love for work, but even then, there's kind of the self care aspect, and self care literally means, like, I do nothing. Like, because we're
yeah,
not robots, right? So even though I absolutely love doing something, like, I'm not a robot where I could actually be doing something, or that thing that I love 24/7. Like, there still needs to be a time for your sleep, for, spending time in nature, and being in a quiet zone.
the culture of doing nothing, but also the idea of investing in ourselves,
Yeah.
and just, you listen to your body and to what you do when you need to stop, because maybe you work too much or you're doing too much, or you just have to, like, as you like saying, tune in, right? And then tune in with yourself and just figure out that, okay, now I need to stop, okay, now I need to take care of myself, and okay, I need to look and pay attention to the specific signs. I feel that there is a part of me that is kind of like limited, or that needs to be nurtured a bit more. And how it's crazy how you don't realize it, or it's kind of like it's hidden inside of you. And then there is just one thing that happens in your life, and then boom, all of a sudden, oh, it's clear what I have to do,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah. And sometimes we wait for such a long time to get kind of that message. um, or and sometimes it takes a longer time because we're not ready to hear it earlier, you know what I mean? Or we have other blockages that kind of don't allow us to hear the message. But absolutely,
But
when
everything happens for a reason, right? This is like what you've always taught me since day one,
mhm,
and I feel like it's so true for like so many aspects of life, and it's just,
absolutely.
and that's why every time I try to never say, oh, I will never do this.
Hmm.
Because to me it's like, well, how do you know that?
Yeah.
There might be something happening in your life that will lead you to do that exact thing that you told yourself you'll never do. In my case, getting married, for example. I
There
never
you go.
wah, wah. But no, but seriously, and it's just like, I think it's important to like, and I want to hear your full opinion about this. Like, it's important to, as you always say, tune in, but also to like realize and give ourselves the freedom to let things happen to us, right?
Well, and this kind of, I always kind of go back to the example of nature, right? And when you look at nature, you look at seasons, right? Nature is never delayed. It knows exactly. Like sometimes I was actually looking at nature even like these past few weeks, right? And here in the northern hemisphere, obviously we're changing from summer to fall, right? And we've been having like so many like really hot summer days for like the longest period of time. And it's September already, and I don't remember it being this warm in September. Yet, like you don't see like the weather like cooling down. And I mean it's actually cooling down this week, but like the at the beginning of September you didn't see it cooling down. It was hot like crazy. And then I looked at nature and I'm like, but like certain streets I would walk, just kind of take my walks and stuff. And I would look at trees and nature and leaves and I'm like, oh my gosh, it feels like fall.
It's here, yeah,
Because the nature is already, the leaves are falling down. And like I went up to like this tree, I kind of started playing with like the leaves and stuff. And I'm like, this is not a summer tree anymore.
yeah.
So even though the climate change, things are going on, craziness, what have you, nature never delays. They know when it's their time and it's their time. And
Yes,
they don't push for it. They're not hustling for anything. It's going to come and it's going to be so it's that nature that I feel that nature is at like a beautiful balance. Doesn't matter if it's whatever season it is. It's always balanced. And I
yeah,
think as humans we really need to kind of learn about that from nature. Same thing, day and night. Like we have day, we have night, and it just like everything comes with a different energy. In winters we have longer nights than days. In the summer it's quite the opposite. It's all just a synchronicity of a perfect balance. um, it's that dance of that yin and yang, the polarities. And so we have polarities in everything, right? So like in us, being busy constantly, we're actually at the extreme of one spectrum, right? And then there's people that are like doing absolutely nothing. That's the opposite spectrum, right? Which you can go um, to the extreme of it as well. So everything we do, it's always about, yes, that's the polarity. I can go to whichever extreme, but what I need to do is find that balance. And, by us tuning into, and that's why nature is such a huge, teacher for us, because when we tune in with nature, then we end up tuning in with ourselves. And then we start kind of knowing where is our, like how far can we go,
yeah,
whichever direction, right? Like knowing where it's like, you know what, maybe I want to do this, maybe I want to go after this. But like when you're tuned in with your body and yourself and your energy, you know that like, okay, I want to do this, but that's going to be maybe, that's going to like exhaust me out of energy. So I'm not going to do it. I'm going to wait for the right time, or I'm going to wait for, an inspiration to come,
Yeah, or a sign, as we were
or a
saying.
sign, or a synchronicity, or that message.
Yeah.
We often just want to go, go, go and overachieve and be overambitious and all that stuff. First of all, that's a very masculine trait, which again, masculine is only one side of a polarity spectrum.
Cool that you say this. Just something that I just had an epiphany. So funny. Uh, the synchronicity and the balance and stuff, and the tuning in even
Mm-hmm.
with ourselves. But first of all, I think and I feel with nature, like I just realized that um we were on holidays and stuff. We were in Italy with my parents and stuff like that, and then it was the beginning of September, first week of September, when we came back to Brussels.
Mm-hmm.
Almost was like my body was done with summer and it was ready for fall. Like it was just, I have this thing where I feel the seasons, like it's kind of like I'm almost like tuned in. So it's kind of like maybe outside the leaves are still like green, so it may
Mm-hmm.
look like it's summer, but like internally I feel like 100% that nature is turning into fall, and I am as well.
Exactly, and that's a very very much of a feminine quality, to feel and to kind of be in tune with nature and seasons.
Mhm.
And and especially like, just as even a side note, like even women and PMS and stuff, it's all about nature cycles. We actually go through 4 cycles with every period that we go through, and from period to period. Um, so we are completely in tune with nature. But again, it's not only women, because men have that feminine trait within themselves as well. It's just a matter of how much of a balance they have within themselves, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So again, we all have that capability, but like I absolutely agree with you. And now I'm sure, like in Italy, obviously you're gonna have a bit of a different climate,
yeah,
um, and so like I remember when like I lived in California, and in California we would kind of always say, oh, it's only 3 seasons type of thing. But for some reason, because there was like, I mean, unless if you were in the mountains in the north, it would snow, obviously. But like when you're in like Southern California or something, you really like, you kind of have that, obviously there's summer, and then kind of summer, like in the fall, kind of changes into this kind of a bit more of like a cloudy, rainy season, and then it kind of rains for a little bit, or not even like, especially in the Southern California, not necessarily rains, it kind of is more cloudy, and then you get into the spring and it's summer again, and it's sunny every single day, right? So so but even then, like when I was in California, it was always, it kind of felt like it was, you can kind of tell, oh, it's only 3 seasons, right? You don't get snow, it's like it's almost like winter doesn't exist. But in my body, I always felt that, um, like when the fall equinox came, or the spring equinox came, for me it was always like I could feel it in my body. I'm like, yes, it's warm, but all of a sudden, like the end of September, like even though it was warm, I would wear like a t-shirt and stuff, but all of a sudden, like I wouldn't wear flip-flops anymore. I would wear like like flats all of a sudden. It's like my whole body just knew there was a little bit. And obviously California would be just like a much smaller shift,
yeah.
but you could still feel it, right? Obviously, you are in Belgium right now, where those seasons do exist a lot more. There's those kind of prominent 4 seasons. Sometimes you don't even have summer,
We
but
didn't have, the summer is not very popular here.
yeah, not so much.
Yeah, but in all fairness, it's kind of even here. I was on my walk today, and yes, I was wearing my hoodie and whatever, and it wasn't
Mhm.
like, oh my god, hot. I need to wear a swimming suit, sort of hot. It was warm. but it was that warm that was like, yeah, it's that like warmth leading to autumn and like to fall, and like, which for me it's always associated with, it's like the two seasons that I feel like physically feel the most is like our fall and spring.
Mm-hmm.
And and I don't know if that has a certain like kind of like meaning or something like that, but it's just like, it's almost like, even if it doesn't look like weather wise outside, it doesn't look like it, I just feel it inside, and I know it's like it's fall, like it's there, it's coming, and it's just kind of like, I personally love the end of summer, like the for me, like I love the moment where, you go from, it's knowing it's not summer anymore, but it's almost like nature is still trying to like, give you that warmth to prepare you for winter or something. I don't know, it's kind of like, I
Yeah,
love that feeling. And then stuff just like the air smells different, it's a different smell, like in the air, nature smell
absolutely.
looking a bit different. And the same change, I feel it before spring. And then just like
Mhm.
when spring is like just explodes, it's like with all the flowers in the garden and stuff, it's just like, oh my god, so amazing. So
Yeah, so but that's exactly it. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. There's again, if you're tuned in, like nature knows, and like and it gives off that vibe. So if we are in tune with nature, we're gonna feel it too, So you're gonna like you said, you came back home, and all of a sudden, even though everything was green, it's just you felt that it wasn't summer anymore.
yeah, and to a certain extent, I think it does have a meaning in terms of like life. Like, why do I like those two seasons so much? It's like, it's almost like, for me, fall is, I'm entering in a phase of kind of like slowness and, like
Stillness.
mental.
Well,
I mean,
and that's actually what it's a good point, because when you look at seasons, right? Spring is always new beginnings.
yeah,
It's all about new beginnings. Summer is all about being in the action of everything. And then fall is you kind of preparing for that kind of stillness, that quietness, that kind of hibernation mode. And then winters are very much kind of those dark places that we always need to, and by dark, like people get afraid of what dark means, but it really is, darkness means internal. That's what
yeah,
it means. Darkness also means very feminine. Darkness also means the night, which the moon, all of that. Um, so even like during the day, like if you look at 24 hours, we have the same cycles. We have pure night, we have spring completely, like in the morning with a sunrise, then we step into summertime in the middle of the day, and then we step into the fall throughout the evening. Everything has these four cycles that we go through. It's just like such a beautiful thing. And and like our women's cycles work the same way. And again, like going back to being in tune with that, and in tune with like what nature is doing, and what we are doing. Nature is pretty much the driver for us, our energy. So when we tune into it, and then and obviously you can take kind of those cycles and use it in your business, in your work, in your kind of daily living. It's the same thing. And looking for synchronicities, and looking at the fact that, like, what, now I'm actually for the next 2 days it's going to be just me time, because I need to go internal, and for the next 2 days I'm not meant to be all out there,
yeah,
working my ass off and doing, hustling for something. It's not. It's actually an internal stage for me. And we have to respect that. And I
yeah,
think the more we all tune into that, um, the more the healthier we're going to be, the more energy we're going to have, And we're
Mhm.
actually going to achieve a lot more because we're working in nature with our cycles as opposed to against it. When we're actually pushing against something or resisting something, or actually trying to go after something that it's not the time for us. First of all, it's not going to work. Then you're going to get frustrated. Some people will get depressed because, oh, nothing is working for me. Then they're going to step into their victim mindset. But if you were just to wait a few weeks, a few days, or just wait for that inspiration, like none of that would even show up. Stay tuned for more and join our community at AuthenticSpacePodcast.com and on Instagram at AuthenticSpacePodcast.